how do we preserve some of these unique specimens in a way that we can continue to use them, but also potentially use them outside of the college as well. So what makes this project innovative or different is the level of access that we can provide to students. Having access to dissected materials that highlight soft tissues, that highlight patterns, just doesn't exist right now. This is the first project of its kind that's trying to build a full-blown library of these specimens across the vertebrates in general. I'm gonna pop over here and grab some of these photos. This one will actually be very interesting because it's such a long specimen. We'll see how these turned out. So right now the labs are set up. We go through every week a different set of vertebrate specimens. We'll spend 2 weeks with mammals, 1 week with amphibians and reptiles, birds, fish, etc.
2 of them, but 3 of them are super long.
So you'll notice that the smaller claws are going to be laterally.
Yeah.
And so those smaller claws laterally are honestly most likely to the fact that they're getting worn down more frequently.
Okay, but it's not like they're absent, because on the alligator they looked like absent.
You know, thinking about student experiences that we're trying to create really an appreciation for the diversity of life, biodiversity in general, how similarities in structures across a lot of different specimens might reflect an evolutionary history or congruences in function, and just a better appreciation for how all of these different pieces work together.
In our dissection, Dr. Ryerson's coming along with his camera and taking pictures for 3D models. What he's doing, which is pretty innovative and I've really been enjoying, was that he's using these 3D models and then just putting them on our computer software that we could scroll through and move around and look at individual muscles without messing up the specimens for other students.
And so what we are going to do first is basically ask the system to take all of these images and identify the subject, the caiman head here, and remove all the backgrounds. So we're going to ask it to mask those. But then what we are going to do, we're going to say align all of these images and try to turn them initially into a 3-dimensional kind of point cloud. And what we can see here is we've got the basics of that 3-dimensional model already. These are all just a series of what we're going to call points. And the system has identified these various points in a lot of our images and then turned them into this 3-dimensional model. But this isn't the full 3-dimensional model yet. It's sort of an estimation. And then from there, we are going to apply those finished textures to our detailed unwrapped model. And along with the creating of the model in the normal detail, the complexity here is going to drive the length of time. At this point, we have a pretty high resolution, pretty detailed model of what this caiman looked like in life. And then once we have finished cleaning up this model in post-production, we can then upload it to the digital platform Sketchfab. This is how it is going to look to anybody who has access to the link or can share it through Canvas or through testing platforms. And it is fully manipulatable, and we can play with lighting. We can decide if we want to mess around with how the object's actually displayed. And a lot of these elements can be done in Sketchfab.
It's actually one of my favorite parts about the class. Having that 3D model online where I can access anywhere has been one of the reasons I've stayed really curious with this class. Especially once we're done with dissections, usually we don't have access to the specimens anymore. And a lot of times I find myself still curious about different structures I saw, so having that 3D model online where I can access anywhere, kind of prompting us to think deeper than what we're actually just seeing.
There are 2 things that excite me the most about where this project can go. One is just the absolute array of life and forms that we can try to build these models of. The other thing is we can make this something that has a huge impact across the state of New York, the region, and the entire country. You know, providing a library that any student at any institution can access with all of these different models that we're putting together and really have an impact on their learning experience.
That is New York City. And we have a full residency.
Excellent.